On this special edition of Our World with Black Enterprise, I'm here on the campus of UC Santa Cruz for an exclusive interview with Black Power icon Angela Davis. That's what's going on in our world, starting now.
Revolution has come. Off the page. Time to pick up the gun. Off the page.
40 years ago, the Black Panther Party for self-defense picked up their weapons and started a revolution.
No more pigs in our community.
The Panthers considered the police pigs who slaughtered blacks in the streets.
We would patrol the community. If we saw the police brutalize anyone, we would put an end to this. Usually the police wouldn't brutalize anyone if we were on hand because we were armed. And if the police arrested the individual, we would follow him to the jail and bail the individual out.
Angela Davis, a Black Panther and member of the Communist Party, became an international icon in the struggle for liberation.
We are convinced that today marks the beginning of a new era in the movement in this country.
Their fight for civil rights was brewing with anger and determination.
We're gonna walk on this racist power structure, and we're gonna say to the whole damn government, stick 'em up, motherfucker. This is a hold-up. We come for what's ours.
As far as Angela Davis is concerned, the revolution is far from over, but it is very different. Today, she's Professor Emeritus of History of Consciousness and Feminist Studies at the University of California at Santa Cruz. She's the author of several bestsellers, and she lectures and travels the world. We sit here on a college campus at UC Santa Cruz. About 40 years ago, you were far removed from Santa Cruz. You were an active member of a Black freedom struggle.
Well, actually, a little more than 40 years ago, I was teaching at UCLA. And because I was fired from my position in the philosophy department there, my whole story began. So you might say that it's a trajectory, from one campus to another campus with a lot of, very interesting, dangerous, exciting encounters in between.
Well, one of those major encounters, obviously, was you being, I think, the third woman in American history to be on the FBI's most wanted list.
Well, that's interesting because I had forgotten. I had actually repressed that fact. And I was speaking somewhere and someone introduced me as the third woman in history to have been placed on the FBI's most wanted list, and everybody in the audience applauded.
Right. At that moment in history too, it was almost like an honor to be pursued in that way because you were fighting for Black liberation, no?
But it was also very scary. I became involved in a whole number of campaigns. The Soledad Brothers was one of the campaigns in which I got involved, and it was as a result of my activity I found myself charged with what were at that time 3 capital crimes: murder, kidnapping, and conspiracy. I always like to point out that it was not so much what I did that has led to my being widely known. All of that could have happened to me in obscurity, but it was because of vast campaign, people all over the country, and then people all over the world, in Europe, in Africa, in Asia, I just returned from India, where I met people who told me that they had organized a Free Angela Davis committee in Delhi and in Pune. So almost everywhere I've gone in the world, people have told me that there were people involved at that time. And that is why I think, regardless of the fact that I was innocent, I could have been innocent and sentenced to death. But it was because of that campaign that I was eventually freed.
When you were sitting in a prison cell 40 years ago, did you see any of this happening? Did you see yourself even getting out of the prison?
Well, it's interesting. I had a lot of hope. I was very optimistic. And I've retained that optimism.
Have you really?
Believe. Yes.
After everything that's happened to you, false accusations, incarceration, being kicked out of a university, you still retain hope?
Well, so much has happened. A lot of very positive changes have happened. Black people are in places where we never would have been able to imagine, not only in the White House, right? And we have a way of thinking about the relationship between race and class and gender and sexuality and nation and ability that would have boggled people's minds 40 years ago. So that to me is progress. That to me is, that indicates that we've gone a lot further than I ever would have been able to imagine sitting in that jail cell 40 years ago.
For so many people, you signify a certain kind of militancy and a certain kind of radicalness in the freedom struggle, as opposed to, say, a civil rights, mainstream civil rights direction. How did you get on that track as opposed to the track that other people were on? I mean, you come from Alabama. How do you go from Alabama to a Black Panther Party?
I think it was about generation. Nowadays, we tend to narrow that movement. We tend to think of it only as a civil rights movement. But there were those of us in the 60s who felt as if we needed to go further. We listened to Malcolm X. We were also influenced by Fidel Castro and Che Guevara and Patrice Lumumba. We were also thinking about global revolutionary transformation. We were thinking about freedom in the largest possible sense.
So much of the memories, at least in the public, of the Black Panther Party are about people standing around with guns. But there were programs, there were ideas. I mean, there was so much going on other than just, men toting guns, right?
Oh, absolutely. As a matter of fact, initially, I would say the guns were more symbolic of resistance, which isn't to say that members of the Black Panther Party didn't have weapons. And I had weapons myself at that time. It was a different era. But as you point out, the Black Panther Party had all kinds of programs. As a matter of fact, free breakfast program that is run by the Department of Agriculture, that idea emanated with the Black Panther Party because the assumption was that children couldn't learn if they were hungry. Very simple, but nobody else had done it.
What happened then? I mean, the question that a lot of people ask is, if the Panthers were so engaged and so involved, so committed, and had such great ideas, how do they disband? How do they fall apart? Why aren't they still sort of in motion today?
There is a new Black Panther Party, but
it's a very different organization.
Exactly. But if you look at the 10-point program that the Black Panther Party developed, you see that schools and health care and the end to the occupation of the police in Black communities and all of the other things are still very much on our agenda. The demands have never been fulfilled. They're still there. We still need food. We still need clothing. We still need schools. We still need an end to police occupation. We still need something done about the enormous numbers of people, especially Black people, who are in prison today.
Well, I'm glad you said that. And when we come back, I want to talk to you about the prison crisis, the mass incarceration crisis, and what your strategies are for resolving it. Stay right there. We'll be right back.
And at that time, there were only a couple of 100,000 people behind bars. Today, there are more than 2 million.